Good morning. So the point of today's lecture is actually going to be a roundtable conversation, and the official title, I'm not totally sure, but the official title, the point of the conversation is basically to start a conversation for many of you about debating in college and what that experience can look like. So the point of the panel is to provide access to people who experience debating in college and then kind of taking different paths along the way. So you've got people up here who are directors or coaches of programs that you might debate in if you went to college and debated in this area. You've got people who debated at schools that are near and kind of far away, people who spent their entire college careers doing debate, and then people who, decided to do debate and also split their time between other things. And so, actually, first off, we're going to have everybody just introduce themselves, names in the panel, and then actually I think I'll start off. Yeah. So I'll start off. My name is Dr. Lemuel. I'm the speech and debate coach at Cal State Northridge. I'll talk more about myself later on, but I'll talk to you about what it means to debate at CSUN.
Okay, hello. My name is Deven. I am the director of debate at Cal State Long Beach. So yeah.
My name is Jarvis. I'm a professor at Loyola Marymount University. I'm not currently a coach, but I did a lot of coaching in the past, and I was a college debater.
Hello, my name is Chris. I'm a debater for USC.
Hi. I recognize a couple of you guys. For those who don't know me, my name is Paloma Cruz, and I used to debate for Lemuel, and then I did a little bit of college debate as well.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana, and I currently attend Cal State LA, and I actually do parliamentary debate, which I'll get into, which is distinct from policy, but that's what I do.
Hi everyone, I'm Harut. I just finished up my second year at Fullerton College and will be transferring to Cal State Fullerton to debate for their team. So I'm going to talk about the community college sort of transfer process.
Okay, so I'll start off my talk. First is, it's hard to talk about debating at CSUN without talking about my experience debating in college. I kind of think that's kind of important. So first off, I didn't know if debating in college was for me. I definitely not. I knew debating in high school was really, really, really fun, but I was not the best student in the world, and I just barely got to the college that I went to. And so I was really worried that a lot of the time I spent in debate would not translate so well into me doing well in college. My mother was very keen on me doing well in college, because the college I went to was kind of expensive. Long story short, I didn't do so well in college at first, because I spent a lot of time on debate. But I was able to kind of manage that in the end. So first, I went to a bunch of different debate schools. First, I went to Wake Forest University, which is a school on the East Coast. They're pretty good. They have a long kind of history and background in debate. It's a very organized school. I came in and I was real low on the totem pole. I kind of felt like I had to prove myself. But we got some really hard debates at first. But school itself was really hard. And keeping up with both school and debate was kind of challenging. I later transferred to Georgia State University, where it was not as large of a program, not as many resources. It was mostly the debaters were doing a lot of the heavy lifting. You get a coach, but for the most part, you're the one putting on the cards and stuff. But school was a little bit easier for me, also because I've matured a little bit. And so those are very, very different kind of experiences. So when we get to the question and answering period, I can kind of maybe speak to how it is to debate on a team that's super organized, and a team that's the students are kind of doing a lot more. Anyway, so I debated all the way through. Debate was kind of important to me. In college, partially because it was how I maintained scholarships. You can get scholarships, you can get financial different forms of support based on debating. And so for me, I both was really competitive, but also frankly needed to debate at a certain level to maintain progress in school. I debated all the way through, and when I was done with college, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. So I thought I was going to go work in an urban debate in Miami, actually. But that job opportunity fell through, so instead I went to grad school in communication studies, where I coached debate in college. And that's how I started kind of along the path that I am now. I coached at Georgia State University for a couple of years. Then I actually came to USC. I did my PhD here. I coached the debate team here for 5 years or so. And then I left coaching debate for a little while, and then ended up in my job right now at Cal State Northridge. And so I've been there for 2 years. It's going to be my third year on that program. It's an amazing, amazing program. I honestly, I wasn't really looking for too many different debate jobs. I really love debate, but there are certain things about being a debate coach when you're older that aren't amazing. Y'all travel. Who likes to go to debate tournaments? Travel. Who likes to go to debate tournaments? Who likes to go to debate tournaments? Like food? Okay. I do too, but I got another question for you. Who's got kids? I don't even have any kids. But the thing is, you start looking at it and you're like, man, this travel schedule is going to be something crazy, And so, you start thinking about, well, what is it exactly that I want as kind of a debate coach? The reason that I decided to go to CSUN was, we still travel a lot. I travel probably more than I ever traveled at USC. I'm not going to lie about that. But a lot of the travel is regional, and the activities that we do are diverse, if that makes sense. So CSUN is what we call an not open source, that's what I want to say. Full service debate team. And what that means is there are lots of activities in what we call forensics, the larger activity of speech and debate, that are not policy debate. Policy debate is one format. I know that many of you know this, but some of you might not, because if this is the only experience you've ever had, you're like, oh, this is what it means to debate. There are different forms of debate. There are forms of debate where you're one-on-one. There are forms of debate where you don't have to look at this huge packet of evidence and learn the packet in order to make arguments. There are some forms of debate where you're not even allowed to bring evidence into the sphere. There are some forms of activity where you're doing speech, which is to say it's public speaking, but competitive public speaking. So you might give an informative speech that you work on for the entirety of the year. It's just your speech. You go in, you deliver it you don't deliver a speech against somebody, but you walk into a room with 7 different people, and then they rank you based on how well you did. That's your round. You do that 3 times. If you clear, you go to the final round with the other people that are good, and you compete kind of against yourself, if that makes sense. That activity is really great for people who honestly lack the confidence, who come into college and they don't really have a whole lot of experience, and policy debate's kind of intimidating. Because y'all know, policy debate takes a lot of time to get good at. It's just it's really, really difficult, right? So let's say you're a person who's been debating in the league for a while, and you love being a part of the community, and you really, really like some of the benefits that you get from standing up in front of a crowd of people and speaking your mind on a topic, those public speaking benefits are just really, really important. You don't necessarily have to kill yourself in college debate in order, to maintain a part of the community. So that's why I kind of like CSUN. We have people, I don't know actually who's in the audience. Do we have any CSUN debaters or people going to CSUN here? Okay, at least one. Did you say that to me? Cool. Israel is an incoming freshman, so to some extent he can't really speak to the culture of the team, but Israel did come to a couple of our practices actually during the year to kind of see what the debate was going to be like at CSUN, to see if he wanted to go, and our team was super, super welcoming of him. I don't know, did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, were people nice to you?
Huh?
Were people nice to you?
Yeah.
Did they ask you questions about your life?
No.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know.
Just where I came from, that's about it.
Okay. Well, they got some work to do. They're trying to grow as well. I can talk a little bit about the experience. You don't pay. Not obviously. I don't know about it, so I'll make it obvious. You don't pay for it. It is our. We provide all the resources. So you go to tournaments as many as you want. The only thing you kind of have to do is register for a class. It's like a 1-unit class, and basically, it's how the school keeps track of how many people we are serving, so that they know how much money to give us at the end of the year for our budget. So if you decide to take that class, it's just the debate class. And all you have to do, or the speech and debate class, all you have to do to pass is go to our meetings and go to tournaments. We have all different levels of experience. I'm the primary argument debate coach, if that makes sense. I have 4 TAs, and those TAs have various levels of experience. Only one of them has done college debate before, but we split it off so that like if you want to do speech, you're not just by yourself, right? You have people who are like really helping you, and those TAs actually like teach public speaking in their actual classes. So they're like really, really good at being able to do that. What are other things that are important? Questions you might have. Scholarship aid. I'm working hard. Okay? Working hard. The thing is, every school doesn't have the resources that we need to. Some schools are funded a little bit differently. So unfortunately, right now, we have very limited scholarship aid. This year, I was able to fight for some computers, okay? Like laptops for like debaters that actually just don't have those laptops. I was also able to get like scholarships to go to summer debate camps for college. I'm trying. I'm not, you know, I'm an okay debater. So like we'll see, and I'll kind of like try to increase that support as much as I can. But right now we just don't have full scholarships. Of course, there's financial aid available, and we can talk more about the financial aid process. But what I will say is that CSUN's not the most expensive school in the world, especially here in state. You know, and another thing I can say is that many of you. I guess most of you are from LAUSD, but some of you are from like outside of LAUSD because you go to charter schools around the area. That sometimes you're not, if you apply to a Cal State, you might not get in. Not because you are not a good student, because you don't meet the standards, but because you live in an area where they've decided we already have enough students from that area, if that makes sense. And they want to diversify. They want to go outside of the area. For example, Israel is one of those students. Israel's grades were great, but Israel was originally rejected. If you are one of those people, we can get you into the school. Israel was smart enough to send me an email to say he really wanted to go to CSUN, but he was rejected. He didn't quite understand why. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And actually, our university was like super receptive to that. In fact, they love it when we go out and recruit people from out of areas because they think that those students will be the ones that are most likely to come and also most likely to succeed because they're doing extracurricular activities and being a part, you know, of the life of the university. So, what I guess all I'm trying to say is, if you want to debate at CSUN, if you want to be a part of speech and debate at CSUN, there's a place for you. We're an open, welcoming team. Nobody is turned away because they just don't have enough experience. Nobody's treated like a different part of the team because you just don't have certain skills. Like, it is my job. Like, teaching is what I want to do, you know, primarily. And debate is just a way in which I do that. And so we would love to have you. I have cards that we'll pass out at the end, but I'll hand it over to somebody else in case, you know, and we can ask questions at the end.
Okay, so similar to Joel, I debated in college as well all the way through, and I think I just kind of realized that like we transferred too. So I started at University of Louisville, which I thought was my dream school, and then I was wrong. And then so I transferred back home to Towson University, where I debated for the last 3.5 years of my college career. Oops, I'm so sorry. So after that, I came out to California. So I was like, oh yeah, I love California. It's gonna be awesome. So I went to Cal State Fullerton to do that. And then I guess I just stayed here because after I graduated, I unfortunately went to this school in the Central Valley to coach called Fresno State. It's a great school if you want to like be a farmer or something, but you know, or if you play sports well, I don't know. But so
great schools in our district. If y'all want to go to Fresno State, they got a great coach. He's not here today. Yeah, great school. He's joking.
They got a team. It's cute. You should do that. Yeah. No, but no, seriously, Fresno State is an option. You should go to that school. But so I coach now at Cal State Long Beach, which we are definitely reforming the team a whole lot because they didn't have policy for a number of years before I got there. The last time they had a policy team was like 2006. And then I got there in 2016. So it was like 10 years. And so I just like started the policy team over again. We just got a new director of forensics because I was just like doing this team by myself like for like, what, 3 or so years until a director of forensics came that was actually like involved and cared about policy debate because we are a full service team just like Joel's team. We do like allow for people to do parley and speech is another thing that we have in policy. So pretty much anybody that wants to come in and do different styles of debate, they're all welcome to do that. It's all cool. So for our school, we have like a 1 We have like scholarships. You have to fill out a scholarship application. We will not give you a scholarship like that is full ride in your first year of school. That is just unreal a little bit because we don't know what your level of commitment is, your work ethic, things of that nature, but we will give you a substantial amount, you know, if you apply and then you meet all the criteria that are coming in for that scholarship. Because I am the primary debate coach when it comes to arguments, just like Joel. But the thing is for me, I am very much so looking for students who are going to come in and be dedicated and want to do work and not slack off and think that this is a game, because I do like to win. Not to say that you're not important if you don't win, but I do like it. Yeah, not to say that, like, but you know, but we're trying to be like winners and stuff. But school is first. School is first though, you must graduate. Like that is important. I don't care if you're losing or winning, but you need to graduate from school, because there's some debaters out here that went to college and they ain't graduate yet. So I don't want y'all to be that person. But one of the biggest responsibilities that we have on our team, which is like our ultimate funder for the entire year, is this tournament called the Jack House. So you'll pretty much be like free labor for like 3 days, but it makes us a whole bunch of money to fund your travel for the entire year, and you won't have to buy anything. You know, we give out laptops if you need them, but you gotta give them back, of course. We give you a timer and t-shirt and all that good stuff. And our team is like pretty nice. They're like fun people. We just recruited like 6 more students that debated in high school. So, you know, that culture is kind of building, because at first we didn't really have that many students, but now we do, and it's awesome. So we're gonna be a force to reckon with inside of the district that we're a part of, hopefully. But, you know, that's the thing. So any questions you have about Cal State Long Beach, I have cards and all that good stuff here, and I can answer anything you want. But it's a pretty good school. Oh, however, it is like hard to get into for some reason. I don't know why. But if you live like close to Long Beach or in the Compton area or anything like that, it's easy for you to get in there because, you know, you're within the Long Beach Promise is what they call it. However, our director of forensics is working on a way that if you let us know that you're applying, that we can put your name on a list to give you Long Beach Promise status, so that you can be one of the applications that look at first. And now we just also got like some, I guess you would call them excuse waivers, where like if you're not really that good of a student, but you kind of like show promise for debate, we can try to like appeal, and you'll be at the top of the appeals list. So yeah, so we can do that. And what else? Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, let's stop for a second and take questions. Anybody questions about debating in college and at all? We're gonna have more things, but yeah. Any questions at all? Or things you just want to say? Anybody think they might debate in college? Well, first off, who's a senior? Ooh, you. Okay. Anybody think they might debate in college? Yeah.
I want to see more hands. Come on.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, wait. We got a microphone. Everybody can listen to your question. There you go.
Okay, so in college, you know how here in Lambda they give you like this resolution and then they give you these files? In college, is it like the same?
Good question.
Or?
Good question. Okay, so the answer to that question is officially no. In college, it's everything, anything goes, and it is your school's job, basically once the resolution comes out, to research all the files. That said, this year, our district, District 1, the amazing district that it is, decided that burden is really, really hard, especially for people who are transitioning into debate that have programs without like amazing coaches. So what we decided to do is to write a packet just like the packet that you got here. Okay, and so I'm actually working on that now. I think Deven has agreed to work on part of the packet too. Devin's gonna work on part of the packet too. So basically, if you come into debate in our district, we don't have a rule that says that everybody has to use it, because there was one, like a couple schools that it's really important for them from an educational standpoint that they cut their own arguments. But there's like maybe one school, and I guarantee you they're gonna say the Cap K is bad. Okay? Everybody else is gonna read from the packet. There are gonna be 3 apps. One app that's like, you know, if you like hegemony and American leadership and big booms, you can read that. His director is working on that app. Okay? If you want to ask about the environment, that's kind of soft. It still uses, you know, the government, but you know, you have feelings and stuff. Something maybe that Elizabeth Warren would write. Okay, that app is the one I'm working on. Okay, it's about like solar power, cooperation with China, and climate change. There's another app that I'm also kind of involved in, but the main person working on that one is Tony Nielsen, who was at this camp last year. That app's going to be the, she calls it the like crazy or the weird. But I would say the non-traditional, non-policy debate app. It's about Afrofuturism this year because our topic's about space. So there's a critical app, a soft app, and a hard app. And then we like do, you know, arguments and case studies for those things. So nobody should have to come in and like have to cut all of their evidence. But if you come in and you want to be an open debater, obviously that stuff is available to you, but like the rules are very different. I would say most people who come in, was that majority of Lambda debate? I would say like, it's a good idea to at least start a couple tournaments in debate. At least a couple. Because like one of the things you don't realize is college debate. It's not like high school, like it's hard. Like honestly, everybody is grown. Everybody knows a little bit, you know what I mean? Like everybody's got coaches and stuff like that. So they're just like a lot, everybody knows what they're doing. So I would suggest starting off in either novice or JV. Those debates will be very useful, very challenging. But yeah, there's evidence for you, at least if you debate in our district. If you decide to go outside to a different part of the country, they might throw you through a wall out there.
At Emory, we're cannon fodder. Roll on out there and get your ass kicked.
Yeah. We more than likely might throw you out there too, especially if you think you're like a hot shot in Orlando.
I don't know if Deven will give you the packet, but if he won't give you the packet, we'll give you the packet.
Any other questions? Fresh question. Should be on. Got it.
How many types of debate categories are there, and which one is the best one for people that, you said speech, but like, what is the best one for people who, now what would you say is the best one, like how many types are there?
People who, give me like at least like one adjective, like what do you mean? People who
like to talk?
Like to talk a lot.
Answer that question.
Yeah.
All right, it's on. All right, so, well, when I started, I went to Cal State LA primarily because I realized that school is really expensive and Cal State LA was really inexpensive. And I was able to get all of my tuition covered, so that's the reason why I chose Cal State LA. And then I decided to do parliamentary debate, although my school also does have speech. For example, a lot of the people on our team really enjoy doing, what is the one with poetry? What is it called? Poetry? That's what it's called, right? Poetry and prose. So that one's really interesting because, honestly, I've never tried it, but that one's really interesting because they get really into the poems that they're reading. And I would say...
So, I can speak a little bit about the individual events that we do that. Can you tell them a little bit about parliamentary debate?
Okay, yeah, parliamentary debate. So honestly, the reason why I really like parliamentary debate is because I tell everyone, honestly, as long as you are keeping up with some news and you show up and you go to practices and things like that, you're fine. So parliamentary debate doesn't really require a lot of work outside of being, like for example, policy debate, you have to go home, you have to prep, you have to cut all of this evidence, things like that, right? But in parliamentary debate, you actually can't bring in evidence. So whatever you have at the top of your head and whatever you know, you can say like, oh, right now China is in a trade battle with the US, but you actually can't cite anything. You just have to say that that's what's happening. So I really like that because it really challenged me to get out of my comfort zone and get out of like the blocks that you usually write. So it really makes you a better debater in my sense.
When you get your topic?
We get our topics 20 minutes before our round starts. So that's really awesome too. Like you're allowed to research, you just can't recite evidence. You can say, well, today in the news this happened, but you're not allowed to bring it in and say that. The resolutions are all different. So for example, we've gotten some about arms sales as well, like the US should not. I think we've gotten like this topic that we all have right now as a resolution. We've also gotten like some silly ones, like in the Elam rounds, we've gotten something like a metaphor or a quote, which those are a little harder. The craziest one I've seen, and I did not want to debate this one, was to infinity and beyond. I didn't really understand that. But yeah, so you have to make a case about that. And then obviously if you're negative, you will be making a negative case about that. That usually doesn't happen. Usually they stick to policy topics, at least in the local circuit and in the national circuit. So yeah, so.
Can I throw one in?
Yeah.
I know that we took one team and one of the topics they got was who would be a better candidate for president?
Yeah.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, or also now I don't even know who the other person was, but it was like a real politician who just like nobody would know, if that makes sense, like a mayor. It might have been Mayor Pete actually. And now that's back then I didn't really know Mayor Pete like that. But Dwayne The Rock Johnson won the debate.
Yeah, so for me, I really like Parley just because I still get to debate. For example, I still read critiques. You can still read KFs, you can still read disads, counterplans. It's the same thing, just think about it without all of your blocks. You're literally writing it on your flow, and then you have to go up and give a win-and-see. Well, it's not a win-and-see, but it's like a win-and-see. That's what we still call it. So I would say do Parley if you really want to do other things. Like I'm involved with other things, so I don't want to give all my time to debate. So for example, I have like a regular job as well. I also coach DMHS, that's something I really like to do. Right now I'm interning at the Superior Courthouse as well for a judge, so I just like to do different things that don't always involve debate. And so I'm just reaching out. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. We do, Cal State LA, we do travel, depends on your commitment. For example, Sam and I did go to one of the national tournaments, and that was at Utah. Another team, they do a different style of debate, and they went to Louisiana. And then obviously we go to like the local circuit tournaments. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Can I jump in there too? So she says she works all of our debating work. Actually, I don't know. Israel, you got a job?
Huh?
You got a job?
No.
Okay, you were the first one I ever met on our team that does not have a job. So like one of the biggest challenges for me is like making sure that we go to enough tournaments and telling people in advance like what tournaments we're going to so they can schedule around work. Because it's hard for them to get like work off months in advance. And if the policy debate has partners, that's kind of a little bit of a challenge. So if you have to work during school, you have to think about that kind of thing. But your coaches are already dealing with that. Don't think, oh, I can't do today, even policy debate because I work. Like that's just, we really do our best to accommodate.
Kind of try to push you to like work on campus because there are people. The campus jobs are usually more forgiving if you miss a lot of time, or like if you want to try to ride the circuit and like judge a lot of these national tournaments. That won't pay like everything, but like it'll be like a cute little check for the schools that actually pay you on time. But you know that's cool.
Somebody else had a question.
Yeah, please. Say your name, please.
I'm Callista. I was wondering, like, what would be the time commitment that you would put in college for policy debate?
Okay. Well, okay, so that's a fantastic question. And that honestly, the only way to answer that is based on what are your goals. If your goals are basically to clear at college tournaments, your time commitment needs to be what do you think of the term? Like, I don't know. Like, what do you think? This man right here is good. He is good. But he ain't yet like doing it like that. You know what I mean? Like, he's not like doing it like that. He's trying to get to that level this year. How much time you put into it?
Usually my weekends and when I'm working, like downtime.
So it's got to be more. If you want to clear like that, it's like, I don't. Let's see. How many hours a week? Like at least 2.
About 3 hours a day? Minimum outside of practice.
If you want to win at the highest levels in college. But I have debaters. I have people who come in and they're like, so, bro, what we talking about today? Like, it's the same topic on same package we gave you before. Okay? No kids win debates. Because like honestly, like they have good coaching and like if your coaches don't want to like give up on you, like you know what I'm saying? Like you know, we bring them along. So honestly, like it's the biggest range is what you want out of them. Totally.
But you definitely should communicate what you want and live up to that, because I'm not about wasting my time with people who will say like, I want to go to the NBT, and then they only do debate work like when we come to practice. So it's just like, that's like unreal. Like, unless you got some natural talent that is just like leading from year to year. But more than likely, I would say my senior year, like, I didn't have a life. So I also quit my job at CBS. I did, like, and so I think outside of debate practice, it was probably like 20 hours a week that you put into it or more.
But he won the national tournament in college.
That just like kind of slipped and happened a little bit. But the thing is that like, not by accident. It's just that when you start to come into your arguments and understand what they are and you really believe in them, and you prepare a lot for hours, like gut-wrenching hours, then that's when you start to get like that level of success, you know? But like it doesn't come just like, you know, you just jump into debate and you're just like, oh, these judges like me, so they're gonna vote for me. But it's like, that's not always the case. Like, not everybody's gonna like you, not everybody's gonna like your arguments. And so you gotta work even harder to do it. Because like some of the arguments that we were doing during the time that we were doing it, they weren't like too popular. Like, they just weren't. Like, we were calling people white supremacists. Like
Now that's cool, but like,
Yeah. The people at the top do it constantly. So say how many hours a week is the wrong question. When are you not going to debate? And what are you doing?
Speaking truth every day. Speaking truth. But you definitely need to make time for school. Like that is number one. Like you have to graduate. You have to get a job. You have to get a degree. Like, I don't care what anybody tells you, like whoever your coach is, like if they're trying to push you to do more debate work than what you like want to do, like you need to make sure that you're doing schoolwork as opposed to that. Because you're a student first.
I want to jump in on that then, because my own experience, I debated at Emory. My high school debate we had like only 4 tournaments and had bake sales and car washes, seriously. But I did go to a school that had a gigantic debate program. The people there, it was constant, right? It's not like they took time off, they did school. And what Deven said is 100% correct. No matter how good you are as a debater, when you go to apply for graduate school, even for a debate scholarship, like I went to Wake Forest, where Joel was there for a year, but I was there for 2 years doing my master's. They didn't really ask about my debate success. They did, to be a coach, they cared, but the school cares about your grades. They want to know about your GRE scores. They want to know, do you have the potential to do academic work? Because you're going to take classes in graduate school, and those professors are not debate coaches. That's what you do for your scholarship when you're not being a student. So being the best debater is not going to get you the scholarship to coach debate. Being the best student who has a debate background will set you up for that. And so that's where I would say you got to have that balance. Yeah. Anyway, and I'll pass it off. The other thing I would say about Parley is that one of the things that's not mentioned is that there's a global Parley circuit as well. So while you have a regional and national circuit, there are tournaments in Canada, Asia, Europe, whatever. And yeah, and I'm certainly not saying that your team will have the budget to do that, but there is a global network there that adds a different layer of education than you can get at a policy in a policy community. Not because policy is bad, it's simply because there's not a global policy debate circuit where there is an international debating circuit around the world in Parliament.
Okay, so I guess I'll just start at the beginning. So I debated for Lambda, so I was a Bravo debater.
Yeah!
So I was actually on the very first team. So while Nakama didn't have the coaching experience, by the time I was a senior, I kind of fell into that role. So my time in Lambda, my senior year, kind of fell back for me as a debater, and I rose as a coach. So I got to coach Vito when he was debating. And so when it came time to choosing a college, I figured I deserved to give myself another chance and see how well I can actually succeed in college. So we'll take another step back. I actually graduated from college with my engineering degree. So ever since I was in high school, that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I was looking at programs that had an engineering, a great engineering program, but at the same time I was searching for schools that also had a debate program, right? Because I saw that as an opportunity to get a scholarship. I was really trying to get a leg up and get a full ride. But Gonzaga was gracious enough to give me, it funded about 3 years of college, but it gave me that funding over 4 years because I was such a good student. And that's not really an easy feat at Bravo for those who go there.
Oh my God.
So, you know, school is always your priority, do well in your classes, especially the ones that are gonna be related to whatever major you want to take in college. So there's that. And then Cameron, once I knew I was accepted to Gonzaga, he encouraged me to reach out to the debate coach at the time, who is still the coach. And so I did, and he was very welcoming. He knew exactly what my experience was, and he ultimately let me join the team. And so I was what was considered a walk-on. Gonzaga actually has a program where they go and scout high school students. So they will travel to regional college, high school tournaments, especially like, have you guys heard of the TOC? No? So that's like the equivalent to the college, like elite tournament, but there's one at the high school level as well. And so they're going around the country and trying to find the best debaters and get them to come to the school, right? Because Gonzaga is a private school, they actually do have a pretty significant amount of funding for the team. And so I saw that as a good opportunity to, you know, get additional financial aid. And my time there was great, it was amazing. I debated for their team for 2 years. Like some people mentioned, it was trial by fire. I went straight into open and started debating against like some of the other elite teams that had way more experience than I did from high school. And I enjoyed a lot of success, but the time commitment is huge. Because we were a smaller program, we didn't have a ton of significant staff cutting all our evidence, so we did that as well. So the official time commitment to be on that team was about 2 hours twice a week, so 4 hours. But outside, you were expected to work nonstop, cutting evidence, working on your arguments, doing your speaking drills. And on the weekends, they would travel about once or twice a month to national tournaments. So they're actually in a different district than D1, so the teams that have been mentioned already, Gonzaga competed against other teams, but at the same time against other national teams. Outside of that, to finish your engineering degree in 4 years, you're basically going to school from 9 to 5. So I basically didn't have a life. But it was a good experience, and in the end I decided that, you know, my career one day will not be related to debate, it'll be related to STEM. So that's when I ultimately left and continued my journey into the sciences. And so I can speak to those experiences if you guys are interested. We'll field that for questions, but I'll pass the mic on. Or we can do a question now. Who here is interested in careers in law? Okay. What about politics? Cool. All right. What about social sciences? All right. What about math? Okay. Yeah. What about engineering? Yeah. Did I miss anything? Biology, the sciences. Okay, I heard bio up there. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know.
Who's got questions?
Yeah, any questions? Yeah.
Got a question in the back.
My name is Michaela, and do you have any tips for debating with your friends, like against your friends?
Like in general?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a good question, bro.
I'll tell you, I have one. They're not your friend in the debate. It doesn't mean you have to be mean to them, but you're not friends until you step out of the room and someone's assigned the winner or loss. That's it.
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit. So when I debated in college, so was Joseph, so was his partner Brandon at the time, and a bunch of other Lambda folk that I knew. And during the round, I can assure you we were not friends. But in the end, outside a round, you're always, you know, the best of friends. They're some of the people I've known the longest in my life and know me the best. But to win, this time you're smarter and they're dumb. Whatever argument they can bring up is just stupid.
There's another hand, it's like right there.
I can say one more thing, yeah. If they're not willing to get embarrassed when you like whoop them up in debate, they're not really your friend. You know what I mean? Like anybody who you would embarrass and they're like, I ain't gonna talk to you no more. They're like kind of weak. They're not gonna be your friend. You know what I mean? Like Deven and I used to go at it in debate. He called me all kinds of things in debate. You heard what he was saying? He definitely called me a white supremacist, 100%. 100%. But like, it was like an argument. It was cool. You know, you gotta brush it off.
This is like out of debate context, but like at Bravo, what else did you do?
Oh my god. So I had my finger in so many things at my time in Bravo. I was
Music-wise.
oh no.
Leia told me you were in the mariachi, and me and my
so-
partner are too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we started Bravo's first mariachi because outside of debate and outside of sciences, I was also a semi-professional musician. So I actually got paid to perform.
Wait, what did you play though?
I played the bass.
Oh.
Okay. But yeah, that was something I did even outside of debate and my classes. Did you want to know anything else about that? Oh. I also did EHA. Are you guys familiar with that program? Oh no, so I was also one of the first students in that program, and that is ultimately what encouraged me to go look for a career in science. You get to intern at USC, so USC also funds that program, and so I was doing state-of-the-art research with some of the top professors here at USC, and I did that also throughout college during my summer, so that's how I would make my money outside of school. So I didn't have a very traditional job in that sense, but I was able to help support myself through college by finding those internships that are well paid.
Hello. Hi. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll try to be concise because I got to talk about a couple of things. I'll talk about two main things. The first is USC Debate, what our program is like, scholarships. The second is Joseph mentioned y'all might be interested in hearing what I do outside of debate because, as I'll hint, I no longer do debate, which is kind of a shocker because in high school I loved debate so much, but we'll get into that right now. For USC Debate, we offer two main kinds of debate. We don't offer full servers, unfortunately. We do have a British Parliament program and policy debate. You all already know what policy is. But BP is very big. It's an 8-person debate team on just one round. So in total, there's 16 people in the debate room. It's very formal. It's based on public speaking and charisma. They do say that. We stand in proud as affirmation. It's the funniest shit ever. I don't get what they talk about, but if you're interested, you can do both types of debate. There is no limit on what you can do. It's a question of goals, as we stated before. In terms of scholarship opportunities, we do have pretty generous scholarships. We offer from $5,000 to full tuition scholarships. I have half a scholarship from debate and half a scholarship from the merit school, so I'm on a full ride. It's not really a question of what is your competitive experience in high school, but your question of character, commitment, and how you'll grow in high school. Like, I got a scholarship, but I wasn't like a TOC debater from like Kansas, which most of our debaters are. It's a question of, do they like you? Are you presentable? And will you contribute to the team on the long term, even if not just competition?
Can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah,
here?
go ahead.
Having coached at USC for 6 years, I've seen at least 4 Lambda debaters get full scholarships to go to USC. So like the scholarship aid is consistent. They have a lot of aid for scholarships, and then they just divide it up among the debaters that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So it might just be a year where they don't have the ability to provide a full scholarship to a student, but if they do have that ability, it is important for them to like support our league and stuff. So it's like, it's not unrealistic, is kind of what I'm trying to say.
How that functions is that we have like a set number of scholarships. So if someone graduates, that opens a scholarship opportunity that we can divide. So that means there's always consistent funding, which is really important. The next important thing about scholarships is that it isn't tied to your success in debate. Since I no longer do debate, theoretically I shouldn't be on a scholarship, but the coaching staff and directors are really supportive and understand just what you want to do. So I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing on the debate team that isn't necessarily competition, but supporting the community in a different way. And I still get to keep my scholarship, which is fantastic. In terms of what the team is like, the diversity, it's pretty diverse in terms of just race and argument style. It doesn't matter if you want to debate hedge, cap, anti-blackness. It's pretty open to what you want to do. The coaches like McBride are really conducive to what arguments you want to pursue in college. I really appreciate that. I can debate ableism, which I never learned about in college. It's a really good opportunity. In terms of travel opportunities, it depends on what you want to do. You can travel once a year, you can travel 5 times in 3 months, which is a lot actually. I know that one of our debaters travels 4 times in January to different debate tournaments. So it's only a question of what you want to do, not a question of what your experience has been thus far. And that's why I like the debate team. It's, really good in supporting what you want to do, and it's a question of growth and what growth you want to pursue in the future. In terms of outside debate, I do a lot of things that you can say I use through skill sets I've learned in policy debate, but aren't necessarily actually policy debate. So there's 3 things. The first is student government. I'm the director of external affairs with the undergraduate student government. What we do is, specifically in my department, we focus on community affairs, helping underrepresented students with projects and initiatives. A few projects I'm working on is creating an emergency fund for the undergraduate students, which aims to kind of tackle the issue of financial insecurity in undergraduate areas. Like, for example, a lot of undocumented students, international students don't have state funding. So if they don't have the money for their visas, their DACA renewals, or just outstanding medical expenses, they can reach out to the undergraduate student government for assistance with no payback whatsoever. I'm also helping the food pantry expand in terms of cultural diversity and accessibility, because some of our hygiene products aren't necessarily accessible to certain races or cultures, so we're making that expansion. We're also working on a volunteer drive between Lambda and USC to make sure that we can have consistent volunteers for tournaments. And it's a pretty big issue at USC tournaments, they're really big, so we're making sure that we provide that resource and manpower for USC and Lambda. Outside of student government, I'm the part of the Building Owners and Managers Association of Los Angeles. It's a 501c6 trade association in Los Angeles that focuses on education and advocacy for building owners in the downtown area. I'm specifically part of the government affairs department, so I use a lot of the debate skills I've learned, specifically research, advocacy, to write up reports for my director on specific policy positions and what recommendations we should go on to our government affairs meeting. I'm also in charge of tracking legislation and how they develop in city councils in the Los Angeles area. So it's a lot of research and skills that debate has given me, but I don't do debate anymore. The last thing I'm doing on the debate team, which I'll get into, is I'm the director of community affairs. So I'm specifically working with Lambda, Joseph, Leah, and Gabby on what USC Debate can do to expand Lambda. And so I think the first project we'll work on is this mentorship program between USC Debate and Lambda. It'll open up August. It'll be available for rising juniors, so keep an eye out. The application open in late August, and you'll be paired, fortunately, with really good debaters from USC Debate. Ben Rosenthal, Jerry Wang, they're pretty famous people in the college circuit and high school circuit. But yeah, please look out for that. We really want to help Lambda, and we're committed. But yeah, no debate anymore. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Really good point on how to leverage your experience in debate to find other work opportunities. So even if he doesn't do debate, he still very much is using those skills. I can talk to my personal, career experience as well. It's been a while since I graduated from college at this point, but now I'm kind of working in finance and consulting, which is very different than what I went to school for. But the reason they were so willing to offer me this work opportunity was because I said I do have that research background over the years, and it shows. I'm very good at finding information, and I also do have a math background. So even if you don't decide to ever do college debate, or if you do college debate and don't commit yourself fully to the 4 years, you're ultimately walking away with a huge skill set that's unique, and it'll make you a very competitive person once you join the workforce.
So one last thing I want to talk about is, again, the reason why I no longer do debate in college. It's like this question of time and mental health. For the next semester, I'll be working about 30 hours a week. So like, as much as I love debate, I just think it'd be really difficult for me to do so and make that commitment. So I think a separate thing we can talk about is understanding how you can leverage your other passions, your other commitments with debate, and finding out ways to do so without like actually crumbling your mental health, because it's a really big issue in college. I think we can all talk about.
Yeah, please, one more question.
Do you have questions about USC Debate or USC in general?
Hello.
Hi.
I don't have a question about like USC. Like I just have like a general question. Sure. So how you were saying that you can do both types of debate. Well, like there's a lot of types of debate. Are multiple types of debate like interfering with each other, like in terms of tournaments? Or like can you just do like as many?
Some of them, yes. Because there's some full service tournaments that will have like everything, but also other full service tournaments don't have policy. But the other tournaments will have like all different other types of debate and speech, but some of them they kind of exclude policy and make it into our own little thing. So, but most policy tournaments don't have other stuff.
And if you do something like speech, I know a lot of kids register for 2 or 3 different types of speech events, and they'll bounce from room to room, depending on their speech event. And so I know speech is more flexible in that regard in terms of debating, in terms of giving speeches in different categories. So that is also an option available.
Yeah, just to recap, everything they said is true. If you do policy debate, you cannot do both. You can go one weekend in policy and one weekend in another event. But if you do parliamentary debate, you can, the tournaments are designed such that you are allowed to do parley rounds and then speech rounds as well. So most of our debaters will do more than one event at a single tournament. In fact, we normally require them to do at least 2 to make it kind of worth it to send them, but some even do 3 at a time.
Who else? Any other questions? Yeah.
Hi, I was just wondering on your stats, like SATs, grades, GPA, in getting into the universities that you got into.
I can start with that. So I didn't really have a great SAT GPA. I had a respectable one. Applying to USC, I had a 3.4 GPA and a 1380 SAT, which isn't bad, but in context of the scholarship I got a merit scholarship at USC. It's a presidential scholarship. It has about a 2% acceptance rate. So it wasn't really a question of my stats. It was a question of the experience I had, because the USC admission center and the debate team doesn't really care about specific hard numbers, but rather cares about the character you are. So I think why Lambda is important is because it builds that character so much. So if you have a commitment to something, if you have a passion, just make sure to show it.
Thank you.
Hi. So, since you said how you quit a debate, but it helped in long-term skills on how it helped you, get other opportunities, what would be some examples of those that help you long-term?
Yeah. I think specific skill sets are first research, second communication, public speaking, and the last is honestly time flexibility, because in debate you spend so much time, so you have to manage your time. In the first example I gave was student government. It's a really big position on campus, and I'm really fortunate to have it. And the reason I got it was because the larger staff members on the student government were aware of my ability to communicate, aware of my ability to communicate with specific stakeholders on campus. We have to talk to a lot of professors, a lot of directors of student organizations, and the ability to do that in a consistent manner and to think about which options or resolutions and initiatives you should pursue through critical thinking is something that not a lot of people have, but debaters do have that. And that's why, even if you don't do debate, you can use those skills. Another example is that internship I mentioned. The reason why I was chosen, I had a discussion with the director afterwards. He said it was my ability to, do research on policy. Not many high school kids do that, but you do. Use it.
I want to add on to that, not to contradict anything, because that's all true. But there's another thing about this, which is that former debaters are everywhere in positions of power all over this country. You need to put it on your resume when you go applying for jobs. You'll be surprised the time somebody will be like, "You debated? Tell me about that. I was a debater so many years ago." It's a big network thing. And so I would say, in addition to those skills, which are all very valuable, get to know some of these people. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, these are going to be very important people. Because people who are attracted to debate are kind of nerdy, and I don't say that to disrespect any of you, because I'm a big nerd. But nerds run the world, y'all. We get a brief moment here where that's not true, but we're going to fix that soon. But nerds run the world, right? Smart people are doing important things all over the country, and so it's not, and I'm going to be honest with you, your debate, be careful. If you're really successful, don't be a jerk. Because some of the people that are really bad at debate are going to be the most successful humans. They're going to get a little bit out of debate, and they're going to be amazing people. And I'll give you a personal example. I coached a young student named Wesley when I was coaching. He had a nickname on the college debate circuit. They called him Crazy Red in our district because he was a short guy with a speech impediment. He joined the team because he couldn't speak very well. All right? He would speak really slowly. You thought something was wrong with him. But he was really good at math, so this engineering story, I really relate to that. And Wesley joined us largely because he wanted to become a better speaker. He's now a professor at SIU of mathematics. He gives lectures all the time. But he was not super successful. Was he the best debater? No. If he went 4-4, we were like, man, you won half your debates. But Wesley was there for the skills. And that guy is a professor now. He's teaching other people. It's not always the people winning that are going to be successful. They're going to be important. Get to know them. When you go looking for jobs, let's be real, networks matter. Who do you know? So-and-so, and it's not that there's been studies about this, some of y'all probably know these sort of statistics. It's not who you know, it's the friend of the friend of the friend that helps you out with the job network. I know this person who knows that person, they're looking for somebody. Oh, I know somebody who might be perfect for that. This kind of stuff matters, and these are all amazing people. Get to know them and build those networks. Even if you're only in college debate for a year, know these people. Recommendations, suggestions. I continued to get recommendations from my debate director through my last job, Melissa Wade. And she wrote glowing recommendations. So, get to know them. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on this.
If I could add on really quick, I'll pass it to you right now. But for the student government job, I got access to that connection by a debater on the USC debate team. So without that connection, I probably wouldn't have known, wouldn't have given that recommendation to. So yeah, he's so right.
Hi everyone, my name is Harut. I also used to debate at Lambda. I went to Bravo as well. So shout out to my people. I'm gonna keep this short since we're almost running out of time. I had originally, outside of high school, like when I was first applying to colleges, I had two very distinct colleges in mind. The first one was Northridge, and the second one was Cal State Fullerton. I was lucky enough to get into both schools, but Cal State Fullerton has always been sort of like my dream school to like go, especially because I could move out and move away from my parents. But you know, and so I think everybody can attest to this. Like college is very expensive, and it's often like expenses that get in the way of you like accepting like going to like a college that you really want to. That was the case for me. Even though I got into Cal State Fullerton, when I got my financial aid package, it was not enough to fully cover my expenses. I knew that I had to take out loans, and that's like a very scary decision to like go through. And so I did the only thing at the time that I thought was right, and I panicked and I called Cameron. And he's very calm in these situations, and he said, don't worry about it, right? It's fine. And he actually was like, community college is a great option, and he like gave me his personal story about how he sometimes regrets like not doing community college first because of the expenses, because he actually went through the path of like taking out loans for going to Cal State Fullerton. And so he gave me contact to his old debate partner, Tony Nielsen, who was coming in as a professor, as a new director of debate for Fullerton College. And I didn't know anything about Fullerton College really. I didn't know it existed, to be honest. And so they were like, no, it's a CC, right? Like, you should apply, right? Of course you'll get in. And I think it was honestly the best decision I made. Like, I just finished my second year at Fullerton College, and I am currently going to Cal State Fullerton, right, transferring, and now I have the ability to like, I'm not paying anything for Cal State Fullerton in terms of like tuition or whatnot because I went through the community college route. And I know oftentimes it's like, people expect you, there's like a lot of pressure for you to go to like a 4-year university, and people are looked down upon for like going to the community college route. And I understand, and I used to have that same mindset. I'm gonna be real with you. I was like, okay, like, well, God, this isn't gonna sound bad. I was like, people who don't get into universities are just not good enough, right? And so I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. But then it's like the complete opposite, right? Like when you go to community college, there's so many smart and intelligent people who like, for so many different reasons, like did not go to universities. There's people that like got into USC, right, that just could not go because of expenses. There are people that got into like UCLA and Berkeley and whatnot just because of expenses. And as a result, like community colleges are actively trying to make, to market their campuses off to students by giving them tuition-free like aid, right? So Fullerton College, for example, currently there's the Fullerton College Promise. And so what that does is basically, if you're a first generation college student, and also if it's your first time like applying to college, you get your first year's like tuition like completely waived, so you don't have to pay for any of your classes. On top of that, I know a lot of y'all in this room can apply for like FAFSA, and so it's like additional aid that you get, and then there's like other resources on campuses such as like EOPS that will like pay for your books. And so community college is a really good option for those of y'all who are really concerned about like money constraints, and for seniors who like are like worried about like that loan route, right, and taking all that going through that path. And so I highly recommend that if you are interested in like going to community college, it is a very viable option. And some community colleges actually offer like policy, like debate, right? I know it's very few and far between, but like we are lucky enough that like Fullerton College is like very near in some regards, right, for most people. And we also offer like full service debating. So we have a speech team, we also have a debate team who does like parley and policy. And so we are competitive in District 1, right? Like I'm always debating against like Long Beach kids and Northridge kids, and like we're really good friends. And just for this, like, yes, we have like less funding than some of these schools, right? But that does not mean like our work ethic is any less than that. And so we make up the work, right? Like we just do it and we just compete. Because we have a good reputation in the district, and we're gonna keep that up. So yeah, so if there's any questions about like community college or like how that route would work, or even like the transfer process, like I'm here.
know.
It's not a question about community college per se, but it's more about like what Chris was saying about mental health. How can you like stay motivated during debate while you know that nothing is meaning, like nothing has meaning?
First off, she said, sorry.
So basically, how do you stay motivated when you know everything is meaningless?
She's in Gabby's lab. That's what they teach her in Gabby's lab.
I mean, for me, you have to find your own meaning and stuff, because I mean, I don't necessarily think that everything is meaningless necessarily, but like, for me, I knew that like my mom wanted me to graduate from school. I also knew that I wanted to be somebody in debate. I also knew that I wanted to be able to financially support myself once I got out of school. So all that stuff motivated me to stay in school. And also knowing that like, you know, I was a black man in like a university that that is predominantly white, that was already against me. So I was like, I have to get through this in order to not necessarily seen a statistic in some way. So I felt like I had to create my own meaning for myself, because like other people that were going to the school that were not in the same predicament or came from the same social location or class as me, it was already awarded to them that they were going to graduate, they were going to get a good job, they're going to be able to like fund and help their families, right? But it's not necessarily the same case as like most of us in this room. So I felt like that was meaningful to me. It's just like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being like a person who comes from like not wealth or that are poor. But the thing is that like if you do come from that, you do feel like you have to prove something in a sense, or try to make it out of that so you can be able to go back to help folks that are there, right? Because like, you know, my mom, she's retired, and it's like she didn't go to college, and so I pretty much give her an allowance, I guess. You know, that's meaningful to me.
So, you know, debate has its own problems of, you know, being predominantly male. You know, so women in debate are, you know, always fighting against that tide. Women in science also have the same problem. So in a class of 100, I was one of 10 women. Guess how many people of color were in that program?
5.
Yeah, 4.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was one of 3 women of color in that program. So no matter what, if you end up at these elite colleges and you feel like everything's against you, look back at who you're coming back to, your community, right? So, same, I had a mom who never graduated college. I was the first in my family to go to college, and so I also had to be a role model for my younger sister, and also for my community. And so that was something that I always was motivated by. You know, if I'm gonna lead the trail, I need to be able to bring all that information back to give to you guys.
So for me, like I definitely experienced it being like a drain. You know, like it took me an additional year to graduate from college because, like I said, my first year I was violent and I did not get a lot of credits that helped you move along. And so I didn't graduate from college at 23, and so I debated all the way through. My senior year, it's like my last couple debates are against people I'd been debating against literally when I was 14, 15. And so you're seeing those people again, and you're like 23, and you're like, man, what am I doing? Like, this is a good choice, you know? So to some extent, I was kind of ready for it to be over, but I was also like very competitive and kind of wanted to do it. But what I will say is, in the moments when I felt like college debate's kind of hard, what kept me in it was my connection to my like local urban debate league. I was reared in like the Atlanta Urban Debate League. That's where I learned how to debate. It's like why, it's honestly the only reason that I was ever introduced to the career path that I'm in right now. And when I was in college, I used to, like very similar to the program that Chris is describing, like a kind of mentoring program where USC will pair debaters with students. We used to go to schools and coach them, right? And honestly, those relationships were some of the most lasting and meaningful relationships with anybody I've ever met. Like a lot of those, I know those kids now, they're not kids now, they're grown people, right? But a lot of those relationships changed my life. Like legitimately, those are people in there in my family. Like I will go to, you know, when their kids are born, when they have weddings, Anytime they've had like troubles in their lives where they really needed support, like they reached out to me, that like fundamentally changed my life. I felt like if I was not involved in debate, I couldn't really help those kids. It was a channel for me to be a part of that community, and it really fundamentally changed my life. Like the way I approach teaching debate, why I'm here today, right? Why I picked CSUN as opposed to other schools where I could go to. It's because like I think of debate as part of a community. Like I really honestly believe that, and I feel like if the community is not healthy, debate's not like doing its job, you know? So this community is like really, really important. If you are able to go to a school where like you're around and you can be a part of this, like honestly, that's a reason to do it in and of itself.
Other questions?
How long were you in community college?
Yeah, so I just did the two-year transfer process. I know it's a lot different for people, for other people, because you know, college is difficult, and with job and work and like family, at times it can be a lot, and the workload in community college is like the same amount of workload you would get at like a four-year university. Like we take like 12, 14 units, right? At times I've taken like 18. But yeah, I did the two-year process, and then now I'm transferring over in spring to Cal State Fullerton. Yeah. But it depends, really. It depends on how fast you want to get in and get out, right? Some people take like 3 years, right? And like it's awesome too. They like to take a year off as well. So.
Okay, so I know people have more questions. Unfortunately, we've already gone 15 minutes over. 10:50? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we have 5 more minutes. Never mind. Questions? I'll go back.
Hi, so I just wanted to ask, like, if you have any advice for networking, especially for someone who like doesn't have a lot of social skills.
Okay, you're my friend. I was always a person who's very bad at asking for help, right? But even just saying to people who you think might be able to help you, like, hey, what was your experience? That might encourage you to be able to figure out what types of questions you should be asking. So first of all, definitely ask everyone here, any of the staff, what their experience was, and maybe start asking them like, well, this is what I'm interested in. How can you help me? Or do you know someone who can help me? Remember, the network is the third person is the most likely to help you. So just see what type of experiences we have, really. Yeah.
Talk to people after your rounds. Don't just be angry at them for debating. Right?
A lot of people add people on Facebook and all that stuff.
And I think this is like the unique part of like UBL camp, especially at Lemuel, because you are not with people from your own school, right? You spend like 5 days with people you're going to debate against the whole year, and you're even going to be debating with people like from other schools on Sunday, right? And so make friends, make connections, right? You guys hopefully for some of the sophomores and juniors, you guys are going to hopefully come back next year, and so camp is a really great opportunity, considering that like y'all have 2 directors of debate here at your, I don't want to say beck and call, but like you can come and like ask.
Beck and call?
Beck and call, yeah, beck and call, yeah. I mean, like they are here, right? They are here actively like giving you their time and their energy to like teach y'all, and so there are some kids like would love to would kill to work with Deven and Joel, right? But aren't doing that right now, right? But y'all are, right? Like so, go ahead, like take advantage of all of this.
I can speak to that. I'm really introverted. I'm pretty quiet. But like a lot of my jobs are networking and talking with people. So like it's a really odd dynamic I have. So I can give insight as to networking as an introvert outside of debate. I think a few important pieces of advice are: 1, you should have like a specific goal in mind when you talk to someone. You know, don't just go up to someone. I mean, you could, and I'll talk about this afterwards, is that go up to someone and say, can you help me with X? Or like not that directly, but have a goal of what you want to get outside of that conversation. Don't just say, hey, how are you? The second piece of advice I'd offer is even intimate settings are still valuable. What I do is I often set up emails or like meetings outside of office hours and get people to talk with me like on a coffee session, at their classroom, at their meetings, and that really helps me because it avoids being in a large crowd of people and I can talk to the person one-on-one. So that's really good to combating introvertedness. The last thing is make every interaction you have a networking event. So like even in this space, practice talking to people, say how are you. Obviously that kind of contradicts my first point, but it's just get you out of your bubble and making sure that you can talk to people, because that's really important.
One last thing to add, and it's that I think debate definitely teaches you those skills, and I think sometimes you can be shy about asking for things that you want. But for example, Cal State LA doesn't have like the biggest funding in order to go to a lot of tournaments, but actually me and my partner, we were kind of, not that we were afraid, but we didn't think it would be a possibility to attend the national tournament. And one day we just scheduled a meeting with our director of forensics and we were like, hey, we're really interested in attending this tournament. What are the possibilities that we can go? And she said, oh, you want to go? Okay, I just didn't know you wanted to go, so let's do it. And that was so easy, and all we had to do was ask. Just don't be afraid to ask for things, obviously in a nice way, politely, but yeah, communicate what you want, and usually it works out, honestly. And that's not just with debate, that's with like other things as well. With job positions, moving up in any job that you have, gaining leadership positions, you have to show interest in order for you to actually pursue that. So I say, just ask for it. The worst thing they can say is no, and that's not even that bad, so.
Yeah, usually people are very eager to want to help others, and you just don't know it until you ask.
We got one more question.
So I was gonna ask, since you guys transferred from high school to college, what was like the greatest difficulty that you guys faced as you guys like moved on with your journey through debate?
From high school to college?
So the question was like the challenges of doing high school debate and transitioning to college debate. Losing hurts so much. So like I guess I'll explain this in kind of psychoanalytic terms without using the jargon. But like it's a real difficulty because you really want to do good and you do a lot of work, but oftentimes you don't get the results immediately as to what you expect. And so that kind of hurts you and it kind of makes you feel like, why am I doing this? It's just important to know that debate is long-term. I won the city championship here, I got to the national tournament, I went to Northwestern, I got 3-5, I got clapped so many times. But that's the part of debate. If you aren't struggling, if you aren't worried about it, then you don't care about it. It's just remember what your goals are and just keep doing that consistent work and you'll get there eventually.
For me, the biggest thing was that I didn't know what I didn't know. If that makes sense. And it's very difficult. It's really, really difficult to for somebody to explain that to you. So you just have to throw yourself in there and honestly lose. Because you're debating against people who are grown, right? People who have had 4 years of life experience. And you're coming out of, not that y'all aren't grown, but grown, you know what I mean? It's different to have a debate against a 22-year-old person who's been through college already. And so you just learn, honestly, you have to be willing to lose some debates. And really put yourself out there, you know what I mean? And honestly, your coaches will pick up the slack, but they won't know what it is that you need until you kind of make it clear to them by really going full bore. So you just got to be willing to put yourself out there.
Some of these people have been dating since they were 13 and stuff. Somebody told me that, I was like, what?
And I think level too, because level is
just us, right? And we're constantly debating just with each other. Like we get comfortable with one another. We just learn, like it becomes a routine. Like, oh, when I debate this team, I'm gonna do this, X, Y, Z. They only say these arguments, right? That was not the case in college. There are people saying things from like this end to like that end, and you have to be ready for all of it. So like Chris was saying, yeah, I mean, like I thought I was like remotely okay at Lambeau, and then I went like 1-5 at my first one, and I like probably shouldn't. I cried. Because I was like, this hurts. I was like, this is a lot. I was like, I thought I was like smart. I thought I could like do this. I had like gold and rings. And they got better, right? Like my coach had to like pull me out of the ground and was like, boy, you gotta read. Like, you're gonna read, you're gonna do this, we're gonna work. Like she locked, I'm telling you, my Tony Nielsen locked me in a room with her during my winter break, like, and worked with me for 5 days. And then when we left, she shamed me on Facebook for not sending her cards. She made a public post. Send me your cards. Like that is what happens, and that's the great thing about like having reliable coaches, right? Like they want the best for you, and they will come after you. Like you are grown adults when you're in college, right? There is nothing stopping them, right? They're like scary, like I wouldn't know. Terrifying, right? And so that's the great part, right? Yeah, it can be terrifying, and there's very few debaters that like go into college debate and have a very successful like first year out of high school. And so it's a learning curve, right? And it's a learning curve that like the whole community knows. We all, like everybody said, like your first year is just hell. Like, and it is, right? Because you're gonna lose so much. And then it gets better, right? Second year, you start winning things, you start learning things, and you're like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this. It's sort of like working your way up in Lambda, right? Novice, you're like, oh my god, I don't know anything, right? And then JV, you're like, okay, got it, and you get into varsity, and some of the older kids start like beating you down. You're like, okay, but I can beat you, right? Give me time, right? That's what I always say, give me time. There will be a debate where I will beat you, right? And it's the same in college, right? It's the same in college. So, thank you.
Yeah, so you guys have a break.